What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're taking a look at Diablo 4 here, running on the Steam Deck with Windows 11. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there running Windows on your Steam Decks, so I try to test these games when I'm able and I get a chance. Now, it's running pretty good here, even though there are a few little bit of issues. It's certainly a good, decent playable experience that we'll get more into. Now, jumping over to desktop, I do want to highlight how I'm controlling things here is Handheld Companion, which is doing my controller emulation. This works really well for any games that aren't Steam, since Windows doesn't support the Steam Deck controller. I also have some hotkeys lined up to the Steam Deck's paddle buttons on the back, so that I can turn those desktop mouse features on and off. So I have mouse control while I'm doing things on the desktop. Once I launch a game, I can click the back paddle buttons, turn that off, and I'll just have controller emulation, so there's no double inputs. This all works really well for my non-Steam games. As far as Diablo, it's installed here on the Battle.net launcher, but I did have to uninstall HD packs. For me here on Windows, they were causing me more performance issues for whatever the reason, and definitely taking me over my 4 gigs of VRAM, which also was causing me more issues here. Now, 720p, no VSync here, but I did wind up having to turn it on for tearing. FSR quality is going to stay on, and we're starting off with low here, though we'll take a look at medium and some other frame caps as well. Starting off here in the main town or social hub area, everybody knows performance here can be pretty rough and you can lose frame rate. It can get a little janky, you can drop frames a lot, but it holds pretty well here, even with the issues we're having with the servers this weekend on launch. It's doing pretty decently. You'll see here in just a second, we drop about half our frames and come back. There's a lot of rubber banding and issues going on here with the servers as well. So some of this is game performance, but some of these things are probably also the online or server side. A lot of that stuff could straighten up on its own. As far as medium settings, I think if you're going to do that, you're going to pretty much be a 40 FPS preset. Now, over on SteamOS, I play this game at medium preset, FSR quality, 800p, maxed out, or I mean capped at 40 FPS. That's pretty much how I do there. And I think on Windows here, the same thing actually applies. Low for 60 FPS and medium for 40, and you could do pretty well. You can use the in-game cap, but you're not going to get the cleanest frame times, and oftentimes is a bit stuttery when it comes to 40 FPS. So I like to cap frames another way, and we'll take a look at that later on in the video. Now, if we leave this area though and we get out into the world, I played quite a few hours in different areas and just testing different performance, and for the most part, I can hold 60 FPS with the low preset settings at 720p FSR quality. We do get these moments of cutting our frame rate in half, which is a sign of either the server or swapping issues, and since I'm staying under my VRAM with these settings and not using HD packs, I think a lot of this could be server side for this weekend, but we could also have some stutters or loaded issues happening with the game. But for the most part, the frame times and the frame rate stay really good when it comes to just running around, battling, getting more enemies on screen than effects. Most of the time it's 60 FPS, but we do get those dips every now and then. I have had some really busy areas that want to run like 55, 56 even without the dips, but it stays really playable and very nice here. Of course, you could cap this at 30 or 40 as well with the low preset if you wanted to, but the game certainly runs fantastic at 60 FPS and feels great to play that way. Okay, so let's take a look at that frame rate capping for 40 FPS. You could do this per game, but to save time, I'll just do it globally here real quick. And this is on RTSS, one of my favorite things to use for capping frame rates on the deck, and I use it with MSI Afterburner for my statistics and all of that. So we cap 40, and I'm going to relaunch into the game here. And you'll immediately be able to see that it is a much cleaner 40 FPS cap than what you get by capping in-game. The frame times are much better. I don't feel near as many stutters. We're still going to get some dips here and there that are just going to happen. Again, some of it could be game, some of it could be server side, but capping my frame rate this way is a much better experience. You can see some of those strange oddities here with the frame rate, but most of the time I'm able to hold that 40 FPS. If it gets really busy and there's a lot happening, there's some odd things going on with frame rate drops. I still think some of this could also be drivers. I know Valve doesn't really have a big reason to give us updated Windows drivers, as of course their focus should be on SteamOS, but I would like to see some more updates to the GPU drivers to help us out just a little bit on Windows. Now, doing some medium as well, you get 40 FPS just as well as you do over on low, and most of the time, again, we're able to stay under the 4 gigs of VRAM that I have set in the BIOS, which really helps. Once I use the HD packs and it goes over 4 gigs, I get a lot more stutters and problems myself here in Windows than without, and that's why I uninstalled them, because the swapping that Windows does and trying to make things work when you run out of dedicated VRAM just doesn't work as well on the deck as it does on SteamOS. It's obviously not optimized for that. But anyways, guys, Diablo 4 is very playable here on the Steam Deck with Windows, and you can play at 40 or 60, low or medium, and you can certainly tweak some other settings if you want. And if 30 FPS is your jam, you can do that also, but I just think this game doesn't feel that great at 30. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.